Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson and Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Angelo Carvalho, candidate for Nevada Systems of Higher Education, Board of Regent, District Number 3. But before we get to Mr. Carvalho, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. This show is being sponsored by Semper Fi Heating and Cooling. Their website is callsemperfi.com, callsemperfi.com. It's getting warm out there already, so if your cooling system, your air conditioning needs maintenance, give them a call. They are a veteran-owned business, so thank you for sponsoring our show. If you would like to advertise on our show and you have a yard sign this size, if you are a candidate, have a business or a nonprofit, get in touch with us and you can advertise on our show. Also, grab your copy of How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System if you do not have an attorney and you're going through the family court system. That's very difficult, but this book will help you. It's a self-help book. You can get a copy of it on Amazon. It is $14.99. And also we have a merch store for VIP. Check it out. It's VIPImerch.com, VIPImerch.com. We have all kinds of items on there and fun stuff, so check that out. Also, we launched our consulting business website, VIPIconsulting.com. Take a look at that. And we will have more information out for early bird tickets for the Valentine's Ball. That'll be coming out soon. Those tickets are going to go on sale shortly, and that's going to be February 7th of 2026. I know it sounds forever away, but it'll be here before we know it.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to say, I don't have a rant necessarily, but I just want to say thank you to those who have jumped in and helped. One of our guests that we had on the show, some guests that we have some horrific stories and they need help. And I can say that there are some people who have jumped in and contacted us, and we appreciate your help and willingness to jump in for these people. So thank you. And thanks for coming on the show, Angelo. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carvalho, could you give us a bio? Oh, thank you for coming on the program. Could you give us a bio?
Yeah, so my name is Angelo Carvalho. I've lived in Las Vegas since 1992, right after Desert Storm. I decided I didn't want to be active Army no more, so I got out and went into the Army Reserves. I've been in the military since 1986, right out of high school. We were just a farm community, didn't have the money for college, so I signed up for the GI Bill. Ended up loving the military, retired January 2014, 26 years of service, and followed my lifelong dream of higher education, went to UNLV, graduated with my bachelor's of landscape architect. Then I got accepted into Harvard for an accelerated design program, graduating from that with a certificate in 2018. Now I am currently working on my master's in construction management. For the first time, I'm on the Dean's list, and it's the good Dean's list. So I'm maintaining a 3.7 GPA. Married, got 4 beautiful fur babies, 1 cat.
What kind of fur babies do you have?
Well, I have a mix. I adopt, and I feel and giving back because there's so many animals out there that need help and need love and care. So I have a Chiweenie. He's now 16 years old. I have a black lab pit bull. She's 10. I have also another pit bull black lab, and he's 12. And then I have another one. She's a Chihuahua. She thinks she's a polar bear, and she's about 1.5 years old. And a cat that we just adopted. So,
That's a lot.
If I had more room,
he's a busy guy.
If I had more room, I'd have more.
How much does your food cost for those fur babies?
Well, because they're all on special diets.
Special diet.
Yeah, so they cost me roughly $700 a month.
Oh my gosh.
For food for them, because each one of them have different allergies.
Wow.
So they each have different foods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I love them.
So Are you announcing your campaign? You want to
Yes,
officially announce?
yes, I would love to officially announce that I am running for Board of Regents, District 3. I'm very excited about it. What possessed me to do it was I just recently graduated from UNLV not too long ago. And then last spring, I went back to UNLV for the master's program. And I did not like the way the program was being ran. Mm-hmm. I reached out to some regents. They were like, yeah, whatever. Who are you? And I felt like, okay, I'll accept that challenge. And here I am. I've spoke with a lot of people on campus. Being the old guy on campus, the non-traditional guy, I got to know the ins and outs of everything. From staff, administrations, from the servers, from the janitorial services. I made friends with everybody, including the construction team at the university. And they all agreed that I should run because I have the abilities of getting groups of people together and letting them work together as a team. So,
what kind of background do you have as far as education?
Well, my first wife is still currently a teacher, so she's been teaching for 28 years in Clark County. My current wife is a teacher. She's been teaching for 3 years. So I know where all the shortfalls are at. And with my experience, I forgot to mention, I do have an associate's degree. That was the first degree I got when I was on active duty. So I do have an associate's degree as well. And then that got put on hold because family lives and things like that. And deployments really slowed it down. And once you go to a university, you really see the inner workings of the university. The kids, fresh out of high school, they really don't see what's going on. And I feel bad for these kids. We're not teaching them anything. They graduate just as confused as they did going into the university because we're not teaching them like how they should be teaching, like how they taught me to be a soldier in the Army. It's all about training. It's all about discipline. And that's not being implemented in our university.
So do you have a college degree?
Yes, I do.
What type of degree do you have?
I have a BLA, which is a Bachelor's of Landscape Architect. Mm-hmm. I have an Associate's in General Studies and Arts. I have a certificate from Harvard that I actually applied and got accepted into and went to Harvard. And have a certification. It's called a graduate design school at Harvard. And currently I'm about halfway through my master's in construction.
Okay. So how important is it to have a college degree being on the Board of Regents?
I think that should be hands down a must, at least a minimum of a bachelor's degree. It's hard for somebody that doesn't have a degree to make policies at a university when they've never really attended a longevity. There's a lot to the university. There's just more than just going to college and getting a piece of paper. There's the academics, getting to know the professors, getting to know the deans, getting to know the inner workings, food programs, medical programs, athletic programs. There's a lot to the university than just being a student.
So you're running for District 3.
That is correct.
And where's District 3 located?
District 3 is basically the southern part. So it's southern part of Las Vegas, and then it merges into the Henderson area as well.
Okay. So, would you be surprised if I tell you the current regent doesn't have a college degree?
I would be very surprised, yes.
And you're going to come change that, right?
I'm going to change that, yes. Yes.
Can you tell everybody what the duties and responsibilities are of regents?
Well, with the regents, the responsibilities is making policies for higher education. One of the biggest factors is where the funding's coming from, how to distribute the fundings, and what type of policies that we are implementing for the professors and the staff members at the inner workings of the university. Of course, we have the president of the university. He's the figurehead. He's the guy that really dictates what is going on. And unfortunately, we had just lost Mr. Whitfield. Mm-hmm. He was an incredible president. he got there as I was graduating, and I saw the transition that he was doing, and he really brought a good vibe to the university. And knowing the inside scoop, I feel he was kind of just, he resigned because of our Regents.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
What is the budget that you guys would be dealing with?
Oh, the budget is a monster. So basically what we have is we have roughly 32,000 students right now currently enrolled at UNLV. So we have a shortage of housing. We have a shortage of implementing how do we maintain this high level of education. We have over 4,000 employees at UNLV.
Wow.
Okay? So what people don't understand, this is a state university. I've gone to Harvard. That's a private university, and it's funded by alums and charitable contributions and things like that. But this UNLV is a state university. And what I find disgusting about it is how they have structured it to where my grandkids can't afford to go to UNLV. That's not good. And it's just the way they structure it. So right now, $51 million comes in from contributions from the community. That's just from that aspect of it. And we have a shortfall of money because we are, of course, a state-funded university. So if you look for it, I'll give you an example. Ever since they passed the transparency law, we can now look at wages of what these people are making. So could you imagine one department having prior directors getting the same pay, whether they teach one class or two class, they still get the same pay. Now, I work for a private company. If I step down from my position, I'm not going to get a senior pay rate. If I decide, you know what, I don't want to be a senior planner no more, I want to be a junior, well, guess what? Then junior is going to get that junior pay, but not at the university. So that's something that needs to change because that's what affects our tuition for our kids. Dean, I'll give you one example of a dean. I won't mention the name, but this individual makes $350,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
As a dean.
Sounds like superintendent of the,
right?
Their salary. My gosh, it's incredible.
And not only that, how many deans do we have? We have a dean in every curriculum at the university. So everything. So there's a dean in every one of them. So we have 10 deans making $350,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
Could you explain what the experience you have that prepares you to help govern a multi-billion-dollar education system?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've owned 3 companies in my earlier days. And you have to understand budgeting. For every dollar that goes out for employees, there's taxes that's being paid on that. So these are things that an average person doesn't understand is how to budget. To be a good regent, you have to have understanding of what a budget is. And if you don't, then that's where you're failing the system.
How come they haven't discussed these salaries and the shortfall and restructuring the budget, reallocating funds? How come, I mean, they see the same information that you do. How come it hasn't been changed?
I think a lot of it is they turned a blind eye because it's easy just to go to the taxpayer and raise taxes for money. Just like, for example, 75 cents for every gallon of gas we pay in Clark County goes to the road program. Okay. Just like our stadium. They're going to implement taxes on room rates. They're going to implement taxes on this. So it's easy for a governing body just to say, you know what? It's not coming out of my pocket. So we'll just tax the population for it. And that's what needs to stop.
Instead of getting rid of the waste.
Instead of getting rid of the waste. It needs to be looked at heavily. Heavily needs to be looked at. I know there's going to be a lot of bullseyes on me, but I'm not afraid.
You need to start a Doge office for UNLV.
I might have to.
Would you be interested in lowering tuition for students? Is that part of your platform?
That is part of my platform. This is a state university, and we're paying what a private university would cost is because of the amount of monies that we are paying for waste. It's a lot of waste.
What about their UNLV basketball program, the Rebels? It doesn't have that same like it had 5 years ago, you know?
Right.
10 years ago.
A lot of the monies that comes from the sporting events are from the alums, and it's a lot of private charitable donations that come. You know, you have these amazing families in the Vegas Valley that are very generous with their money. The Boyd Gaming, those guys are amazing. The Fatitas, you know, you look at all the names that are on the Beckers. You know, these are families that have been blessed to have an ample amount of money, and they are very charitable. I've seen it. I've seen what they do for Catholic Charities. I've seen what they do for all these different organizations. That money comes from somewhere. If anybody ever wants to get their heart tugged, they all should go and volunteer at 3 Squares. Okay, go down there, pack some food, because when you look at that little box with the emblem, Opportunity Village, Catholic Charities, you know, Veteran Services, that's how we feed our communities through these charitable events. So yes.
So how will you ensure accountability and transparency, especially when it comes to the budget?
I think everybody should know. I think it should be publicized. I think every time something goes for votes, like I don't ever hear about when the boards are meeting up. I could go to Clark County.
About that.
I could go to Clark County right now and pull up their website, and it says we have a planning agenda meeting on April 15th. How about that? You're not going to find that on the Regents. They keep it like hush hush, top secret.
Why is that?
Because I think they don't want people to really see what's going on.
We talked about that last year with somebody, I forget who that was. But that is true. They don't really publicize that. I think they should have, put that out on social media, put it on different platforms, let the public know so the public can engage.
Absolutely. Like what I do for a living, for example, if I got a client that has a piece of property that is adjacent to commercial or adjacent to residential, I have to put out a 15-meter radius mailers, minimum of 2,500 mailers, so I could have, these people show up, tell me what it is they like about the project, tell me what they don't like a project, and then I work with the neighbors to ensure we respect them. But they're not doing that at the education level.
So how would you support first-generation minorities or low-income students in accessing and succeeding in college?
That's a very touchy situation for me because for me, I joined the Army. That's how I paid for my college education, not the GI Bill. So, because when I was 18, it wasn't.
Are you a disabled vet?
Yes, I am.
And what's your rating?
100%.
Okay. So you got an additional education.
I got additional education, and also George W. Bush, for every 6 months you served in combat, he gave you 1 additional year of college education as part of if you were deployed to combat. So that also helped with the education. But an average family, and I'm going to use my family as an example because we were poor. We didn't have money to send our kids to college. So Dad was like, you could go to work, you could go to night school, and you could pay for your classes, or you get student loans, like my wife did, that we're still paying on because UNLV is no longer inexpensive to go to school there. So we need to implement a program to where we help the underprivileged kids. They should be first in line for grants. They should be first in line for all these things because you know what? I was one of them. I didn't have an opportunity and I could have gone to school. It wasn't that I wasn't smart enough to go to school. It's just I couldn't afford to go to school and I did not want to have the debt. A good friend of mine, I call him Dr. Dan, he put himself through college. He's a chiropractor and he still owes $325,000
Oh my gosh.
in student loans.
Wow.
That's how much it took him to become a chiropractor because he did not come from a wealthy family. So he had to work and get student loans.
So how will you ensure Nevada's colleges and universities are aligned with workforce needs, especially in emerging industries?
What I find amazing is there's two disciplines in our university at UNLV that are just stellar. One is the hospitality. Imagine that. Two are law school. We have one of the best law schools in the nation.
Which is recent.
Recent.
About 10 years.
10 years. Okay. So those two are amazing. Our engineering department is just finally starting to break ground. They're doing really well. And the other one that does really well, obviously, because we have mines. So the geology department does really well. But all the other disciplines really are not thriving like they should be.
What role do you see higher education playing in economic recovery and long-term growth in Southern Nevada?
In today's, when I was growing up, you did not need a college education to go make a good living.
You could valet.
Yeah, you could valet, you could weld, you could fabricate, you could work on the farm, you could work in the industries, but those industries are not here yet. But Mayor Lee has done such a good job in North Las Vegas that he's bringing industry. He's the one that drove all that growth out there in the north part of town.
I think he's still the mayor of North Las Vegas for some reason.
Yeah, he saved that town, and I'm very like dear-hearted to North Las Vegas because I lived there for 90% of my life here in Las Vegas. So,
what's the term limits on that seat? You can do three terms.
I think it's 4 years each, and it's 3 terms.
3 terms. So the people that are there, some of those people have been there for a while. How do you coming in being a newcomer?
Right.
How do you plan to get them to work with you on more transparency, adjusting this budget that sounds it needs to be fixed, being advertising the meetings and kind of changing the way things go? Because some people, the people that have been in there for a long time, they get entrenched, they're in their rut, they like the way they do things. And then when somebody new comes in, it's difficult for them to, do something different. So how do you plan to tackle that?
Well, I was a planning commissioner for the city of North Las Vegas for 8 years. I was chairman. I was the youngest on the board at the time.
Put that in your bio?
No, I did not.
You forgot that.
I forgot that part. I have so many things, it's hard to remember everything, especially when you get to my age and the brain's been scrambled a few times.
You're a year younger than me. What are you talking about?
Really?
Yeah. You're 56, right?
I wish. I'm almost 58.
Oh, sugar
You
pie.
guys are the same
age.
Yeah, you're the same.
But I went into the Marine Corps in 85. You went into the Army in 86.
In 86, yeah.
Okay. So you went like around close to going on 19?
I was almost 19 when I went in. Yeah. I wanted to spend the summer free for once because I had told my grandfather I didn't want to be a farmer anymore. Yeah. So I kind of resigned and gave myself a little time off.
That's hard living. Getting up, crack of dawn, going to bed. Sounds like something what Jim Jonas is doing right now.
Finding dinosaur parts.
Yeah, from the age of 5. From the age of 5, got up in the morning, being the oldest grandchild. I was one that had all the chores first thing in the morning. Then you go have breakfast. Then you go off to school. Then you get home from school. Then you do your chores. Then you do your homework.
So how will you how will you encourage innovation in course delivery, including online and hybrid learning?
Wait a second. He was just starting to finish.
Oh.
You weren't done yet. He
didn't answer that other question.
No, because he was saying he was on the planning commission for North Las Vegas. And then we went a different direction. So
that's okay.
Continue.
That's what happens when you put an Army guy with a Marine.
You remember.
We do the same thing all the time.
You remember what I asked,
yes,
right?
I
Okay.
did. And so when I was on the board,
please continue.
It was really unique because I was the youngest person there. And then when they appointed me to be the chairman, I had butterflies because I'm thinking, my goodness, everybody's older than me, everybody's experienced here. I'm new, and they're just giving me this position. what I had to learn was what the military taught me, was teamwork. One person can make a difference in a team, but it takes an entire team to really win. And that has been my lifelong mission was I cannot do this on my own. It takes a team to do this. So I would have to address the entire board and say, hey, we are doing this. Why? For the greater good of our community, for our future, for our grandkids, grandkids, whatever it is, it's for them. It's not for us. Some people might do this because they have an ego. I don't know. Some people like that power. They like to hold that gavel. I don't know what it is. But as chairman of the Planning Commission, that was not what I was there for. I wanted to see good developments in my community. And then if I didn't like a development and I didn't like something, I voiced my opinion on it. And then I would have to allow my peers to be like, okay, you have a valid point, and we're going to agree with you on that. And we don't always have to agree, but at the end of the game, we have to do what's right for the community. And that's how I'm going to address the board.
Did he answer
Very good.
that question for you? Mm-hmm. So I could go with my question?
Yeah.
You may go ahead, Maureen.
How will you encourage innovation in course delivery, including online and hybrid learning?
There are certain things that can be taught online. My first degree was online because I was on active military. So obviously I wasn't going to be able to attend any classes. My second degree was in person. And what I have discovered, because now my master's is online, but these are things that you don't need to visually see, that you could pick up a book and read and understand. But there are some courses that should not be online. And I experienced it last fall or last spring when I went back for my master's, and they were trying to teach structural classes online because the professor was lazy. He didn't want to get out of his pajamas. He wanted to stay home and make $175,000 a year and never leave his home. So
That's very difficult to teach online.
And I'm the type of student that I'm a visual. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to build something, I need to see what I'm building. If I'm going to design something, I need to see it. I need to understand it. And there are a lot of smart people out there that could comprehend what's being said to them. But if you're a visual learner, it's not going to work. So that's where I struggled.
So what steps would you take to improve graduation rates and student retention?
Distractions. Okay.
How's that?
The number one distractions that we have in our society right now that's failing our society is this smartphone. This smartphone has dumbified Americans.
Sure did.
Okay. I'm one of them. I used to memorize phone numbers, but now I can't.
You know what? I remember when, because I had the flip phone, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had a cell phone since 1998.
Yep.
And I remember when they came, I went into Verizon and I had my flip phone, and they're like, "Hey, we got the smartphone over here." And I'm like, "I don't need that smartphone. I got a flip phone. Look at it works." I say, "Hi, bye, we're good." Now, I can't put down my phone. My smartphone.
It has become the kryptonite of our society is these smartphones. And it's also become the kryptonite of our education because of these smartphones. One of the biggest things that I got a huge disagreement with was one of my professors. I asked him a simple question. He looked at me and said, "Google it." And I said, "Why are we paying thousands of dollars for you to sit here and tell me to Google it?"
Right.
How about if you Google yourself over here and show me? Was my response. But that's because I'm the old guy. And,
Google it.
yeah.
How many other students do you see that are your age? Is it just few and far between?
There's a few and far in between. Mm-hmm. So, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of brag about this a little bit. But Ross Bryant, he is the Rebel Vets Director. He's the most amazing guy. He's a retired commander, tank commander. Mm-hmm. So he's always tracking. And for all the military guys, they know what that is. But he asked me one time, I was upset. They messed up my paperwork. I didn't get paid on time. I didn't get my books on time because things happen. I walked in there hot-headed, upset, and he said, well, how would you fix this problem, Angelo? I said, I would fire everybody, start over. And then I stormed out, and he says, it's a good thing. You could tell he used to be a first sergeant, because that's what we did in the Army. If you're squad leaders or whoever messed up, you would fire them, take the next ranking guy, and you promote him up into that position. But I struggled the first 2.5 years, almost 3 years at UNLV, because I had a lot of surgeries. So I was in a wheelchair for 6 months. I was on crutches for 1.5 years. I wore a traction, ankle gauntlets, knee braces, wrist braces. I had it all, had my jaw redone. And I still made it to school.
Were you an MMA fighter?
Should have been. They got paid more. They get paid more. But I never gave up. I never gave up. I was persistent. I showed up and I showed up. And then the beginning of my junior year, I finally was able to kick all the pain medication, all the medication that the VA was feeding me. And I
messes with your liver and kidney.
Yeah, and I had a 28% function on my kidneys at the time.
Oh,
so
wow.
they were killing me.
Yeah.
So when I quit, I went from barely skirting by, C average student, and my GPA jumped up to like 3.4, 3.5. And then my senior year, it was a 3.7, my senior year. So he likes to share my story because anybody else would have quit. I got hit in the crosswalk across from UNLV, just finished surgery on crutches.
Wow.
But I managed to make it to class, banged up, and presented my work because it was the end of the year. So I'm giving a talk to the next graduating class for UNLV. It's going to be May 14th. Unfortunately, it's on a Wednesday. I wish you guys could be there.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit.
I feel privileged and honored that they asked me to, because I wasn't the most academic person in school,
right.
But it was my determination is why they wanted me to give a talk.
Okay.
So it's May 14th. It's on a Wednesday. It's at 6 p.m. And where exactly on campus
It's
is
going to
it?
be, it's like the visitor room where they hold these little conventions and stuff. It's right next to the big building. I don't even actually know what the name of that building is, but they used to have a big bronze rebel statue there of Hey Reb, but because, they didn't like his mustache and hat. So
That's
they
the
got
UNLV campus.
That is correct.
So let's talk a little bit about campus safety, and I'm sure you heard about what happened with, I think it was 3 professors that
Yes.
lost their lives.
Yep.
What do you think needs to happen with safety in that respect? And what is your stance on campus safety when it comes to mental health support and protection of the vulnerable students population?
Well, when I first attended UNLV, the campus was a hot mess. Vegetation was overgrown, homeless populations living inside the bushes. I met with the director of architect. I met with the dean. I met with the police chief of UNLV. I have what they call a CETEB, which is crime prevention through landscape design or design. And because of that certification, we did what we call a campus walk. I walked that whole entire campus and I recommended this needs to be removed, this needs to be done, and they did it. So they completely cleaned up the campus.
So you were like a regent with title.
Pretty much. free labor. Free labor. They didn't have to,
like what we've been doing.
Yeah. We didn't have to pay a consultant to come in and do it. And
we're learning though.
Yes, we're learning. And what I will tell you is that the thing that I miss most is having the horse patrol on our university. You know why? They are the best crowd control known to mankind.
That's true.
Okay.
Man on a horse.
And we had the best team. And because of budget cuts, They removed that team. This is something.
I didn't even know they had that there.
Yeah, but I would like to implement it and find a way to bring it back, because I know, being a farm boy, what a horse can do, and a well-trained horse can do. He could disperse a crowd. He could cradle people and make them go in directions that they can't possibly imagine, because they're beautiful, strong creatures, and a lot of people are intimidated by that. And I would like to see that back on campus. But as far as safety, the UNLV police team did a phenomenal job. I'm special ops. My training is weapons and hand-to-hand and all that sort of things. And their response time was fantastic. But unfortunately, if you got somebody, because it's an open campus.
And it's a gun-free
And it's
zone.
a fun gun-free zone. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, one of my professors, when that incident happened, the first person he thought about was me, because I trained them all on how to lock and secure the room. So that way, in case something like that was to happen, I convinced them one way in, multiple ways out. That way you control it. You should not have 6 entryways where people could just come and go. So they changed the system to have Mylock cards where you got to boop and beep your way in. So that is one of the safety precautions they have taken, and they've done they did a fantastic job, honestly, Steve. Metro was there, pretty quick response time.
When somebody knows that there's nobody here has a weapon, it's a free for all. They're not worried about their own safety because they know nobody have any weapon. And former Assemblywoman Michelle Fury was trying to pass a campus carry bill.
Yes.
And the reason why she was trying to pass that bill is because one of the students came to her and said that, hey, I'm a CCW carrier, mm-hmm. and because of the school policy, I left my weapon in the vehicle, right. And I got raped on the stairwell of the facility, yep. the college facility. She goes, if I had my weapon, that wouldn't have happened.
That's correct.
So what's your stance on campus carry? And there's no wrong answer.
Well, obviously I'm pro weapon, being an Army guy. And I think there's a lot of good people out there that are very capable, that can carry a weapon. And I think our state is very strict allowing who can have a weapon. First and foremost, do you really think a criminal cares about a CCW? No. Do you really think he cares about walking on campus having a gun on? No.
Like those people that have those signs that says no guns. All you do is telling criminals, ain't nobody here with a gun.
This is a place you want to go rob because there's nobody in there that has a gun. Right. Okay. You're not going to walk into a donut shop where all the cops are sitting there, right?
That's true.
It's just a bad call. Uh-huh. It's about out of sight, out of mind. There's nothing wrong with having weapons on campus. And the reason why I feel that way is it would deter, if a little old lady is walking down the street and she's packing a 45, do you really think anybody's going to harass her and demand her purse? Yeah. I don't think so.
True.
Okay.
As long as she knows how to use it.
If she's packing a 45, she knows how to use it.
And I would even go one more and say, if you want to carry a weapon on campus, you got to do special training, like they do when you search in houses and right. rooms and stuff right. like that. It's a little special training just to make sure, and you have to go and qualify with your weapon, every 6 months or something like that.
They should have the same training that our Metro officers have to do on a regular basis. The problem is the people go out and they get their CCWs and they have this thing for 4 years. And they've never gone to the range. Yeah.
I have a weapon I haven't fired yet from Reno.
Mm-hmm. My son is a CCW carrier, and he goes to the range at least twice a month. Mm-hmm. Because I always tell him, if you're going to carry that thing, you better know how to use it.
Yeah, we need to.
We need to go fire that weapon.
We need to do a live at the 702 or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
You want to come with us? That would probably be a good one.
702. Well, actually, I'm a life member at Desert Sportsman. I'm a life member.
Is that one in your district?
No, that's one up in
outside.
Charleston.
Yeah, up by right. Yeah, we could.
But it. We should do a live on the range.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We make a campaign event out of that.
Campaign event out of it.
Do a fundraiser.
Yeah, do a fundraiser.
Do a
Come on,
fundraiser
all
today.
CCW cares.
Yeah.
Come on down.
So Mr. Carvalho, let's talk a little bit about accountability. How would you handle controversial or controversy or misconduct within the system, whether it be by the administrators, faculty, students, or the regents themselves?
Termination.
That's easy. Good night, everybody. We're done.
You're fired. I mean, you know,
Is that different from the students, or are we on the same page?
you know, the problem is we've just gotten so soft. We're so lenient on offending somebody to where somebody does something wrong, they need to be dealt with. I'm going to give you an example. There is an individual that is a professor at UNLV, used to be a director. They did not do their due diligence. He was fired from a university from another country for harassment. And they hired this guy. I found out about it because I have ways of finding out who's who, and nobody wanted to, everybody turned a blind eye to it because they already hired him. Now they have a contract.
They got egg in their face. Right?
They got egg in their face. We need to stop hiring people with these ridiculous contracts that we pay them. Now, this clown teaches 1 class, 2 classes, makes the same pay as a director.
Oh my goodness.
That's what is wrong. I'm tired of people. If I don't do my job, I get fired. And I got to go look for another one. Okay? That's all there is to it. That's what's wrong with our system. Tenured is a joke. You hear that? Tenured is a joke. If you don't do your job, you should be fired for it. Because we're paying you. Taxpayers are paying you.
So if you restructured the budget and adjusted some of those salaries, that's not going to be very popular, but
Right.
you do that. And have you figured out about how much money you could save and then what the tuition would look like at that point, or what it could look like for students?
Cut it in half. I pulled up this little, if people don't really know, for those of you out there, you can go to the Secretary of State website, they have a transparency page, and you click on that. You could check on school districts, you could check on Metro, anybody that is a state employee, their pay is on there.
Nevada transparent.
Yeah. It shows their base pay and what their benefits are. So if somebody's making $175,000 a year, they got $38,000 worth of benefits. So it's really $200,000. So I went to this site because I was a little blown away to see.
We were just on that site today, right?
Where, yeah.
Yeah, Nevada transparent.
Yeah. So, for example, this is kind of like mid of the range. So you got a professor there, probably been there about 5 years, probably got tenured, makes about $150,000 a year. It took me a lifetime to make that kind of money. And I work 40-hour a week and then some. And I have a side job on the weekends because I'm an artist assistant for the last 10 years. And I discovered that art was healing my soul, healing my PTSDs and everything else that I had going on in my life. But really, in 5 years, and we're talking people that don't even have PhDs. Some of these just have bachelor's degrees that are just teaching classes. So once you get tenured, you're golden. That's like the golden umbrella. And then they just keep going from there, going from there, going from there.
So you like the art. I like the beach because I like to listen to that water. Comes in and comes out. It's so tranquil.
Is it the water or is it the pina colada, Steve?
I don't drink. It's the water.
It's the water.
Unless it's a virgin pina colada, but that has too much sugar. My doctor will probably forbid it.
Yeah. No sugar.
But you know that right now the legislatures are in session.
Yes.
What bills that, if any, or what law would you like to see amended or come forth or what have you for the university region?
I would like to see them implement a higher education mandate like they did in North Las Vegas when they had police officers retiring from being law enforcement, which they're more knowledgeable of the laws than most of the attorneys anyways. And then they implemented a bill that required you to be an attorney to be a judge. So that was not too long ago.
You talking about in the rurals?
No, I'm talking about here in North Las Vegas.
Okay.
That happened.
Oh, how long ago was that?
That was probably around 2008, 2009 timeframe.
Because it depends on population that you have to be an attorney,
right,
to run for
a judge. Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Michelle Fiore, her name's coming up so much in this conversation.
yeah,
in Nye County.
Yeah.
In Pahrump, she
Yep.
became a judge, and
Yep.
she's not an attorney.
and that's okay, because I do feel just because you have a piece of paper or degree does not make you smarter than anybody
That's
else.
true.
It is just a piece of paper. It's the person that defines that piece of paper. That's the difference. There's people out there that are dumber than a brick, and they got all kinds of degrees. Doesn't make them smart. It just means they had the drive to sit there and go through the process to get that degree.
But I want to make sure that we're on the same page about having a degree and being on the Board of Regents.
Yes.
Because I think that should be a policy that needs to
Absolutely.
be changed. Like how they changed a few policies before anybody could have ran for sheriff.
Right.
And now you have to be post-certified.
That's correct.
And you have to be a law enforcement
Yep.
for 5 years, I think it is,
Yep.
to actually be a candidate for sheriff. Justice of the peace. Before, it didn't matter how long you practice law.
Right.
And this is I call it a Joseph Bonaventure bill.
Yes. Yes.
So he had 2 years of practice in law, became a JP. So now they had criteria. You had to be a JP for, you have to be a practicing lawyer for 5 years.
Yep.
To become a JP. The same thing for Muni, and 10 for district and 15 for appellate and supreme. So I would like to see a bill in place that you have to be a minimum, if they want to even go with the minimum,
Right.
an associate's degree, which would be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But I would say more
Needs
of a
a
bachelor's
bachelor's.
degree to sit on the board of higher education.
That is correct.
And when people don't have that, I'm like, why should I go to college? You don't have a degree.
Right.
And you over here telling it's more of a hypocritical state.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mhm. We've used that word a lot lately. Yes.
Yeah. Very hypocritical. I see the trend is changing, and they are making these bills in place.
Right.
I know there was an incident in North Las Vegas where we had like a marshal.
Martial law.
He didn't have any law enforcement background, but he became like the person in charge.
Are you talking about the constable?
Constable.
Yeah.
So they finally got that rectified, where it's like, okay, you just can't be some, Joe off the street.
So they are changing criteria.
They are
for different
changing criteria. They just haven't gotten to this one yet.
Yeah.
But I think now that we're bringing it out, I think somebody should hear this, and I think we should get it implemented.
I try to get Patrick Boylan to talk about it. He's currently on the Board of Regents right now to talk about doing that. But if you are elected, or should I say, when you are elected as Board of Regent, what are your 3 top priorities you like to see that you want to work on?
The first one is we have to work on getting our tuition down. That's my number one passion.
How would you go about doing that?
Budgeting the school. Get rid of waste.
Okay.
That's the key factor. We have a huge amount of waste in our system.
Okay.
And America is seeing this right now. When I was growing up, my grandfather told me, he was a brilliant man. He was a World War II veteran. He did when we dropped the bomb on Japan, he was part of the cleanup crew. So I watched him my whole entire life getting skin grafts and all that stuff removed from all the poisons that he had to deal with. He said, son, if you want to make a lot of money, you go open up your own business. and you work hard. If you want a gravy job and you just want to ride and coast it, you go get a government job. You're not going to get paid a lot of money, but you're going to have a pension at the end of the day.
Not anymore.
Okay. Nowadays, people are getting government jobs because they're getting fat. They're making that money. They're making a lot of money. And guess what? Who pays for that? The taxpayer. Eventually, it's going to crumble. You could only squeeze so much out of a taxpayer before they're like, we're done. Why should I work when this guy did 20 years and he's got a really nice big fat pension? The Army, until Bill Clinton made that change, it was 55% at 20 years. And then when Bill Clinton took office, he turned it to 35% at 20 years. So you had to do every year afterwards to get that increment. I was grandfathered in because we got in prior to him making that law. So anybody that was in prior to that, you got that same 55%. I'm thankful for that because I couldn't imagine. But I love the military, so I probably could stay until.
When you were in Desert, because I was in Desert Storm, I was in Saudi, not too far from the Kuwaiti border. Where were you over there?
I was in Kuwait, but by the time we landed, it was pretty much a done deal because I was part of the spearhead.
When did you get there?
It was like a month.
Oh, because we got there August of '90.
Yeah. So it was the done deal. So what we ended up doing, we were the cleanup crew.
Okay.
So General Wesley Clark.
You left a mess.
Yeah, you did. well, General Wesley Clark wanted another tab. So he was like, yeah, we're going to stay here until we get a tab. So stupid. But so we just basically, we went around and made sure every piece of equipment was not being able to utilize again. Mm-hmm. So we just
should have had you to go to Afghanistan.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
So, Mr. Carvalho, what do you want to serve in this capacity? And what legacy do you hope to leave behind once you leave the Board of Regents?
I'm very passionate about higher education. My ex-wife has her master's plus 32, and she's continuing her education. We're still friends. My current wife has a bachelor's, 2 masters, and working on a PhD.
Wow.
And my goal after that is to have her go study law too as well, because education is knowledge. If you're educated, they can't take that away from you. They could take your cars, they could take your house, they could take your life, but they just can't take your education. So I'm very passionate about education. I never realized it, but in the Army, in the Marines, any branch of service, they educate us. I never took that into account, but I have 180 credit hours of military education. And some of it transformed into a degree. I was able to use some of that towards my associate's degree. So I didn't have to take all the silly classes. So my entire adult life has been about education, whether it was military. I just want to leave a legacy behind where we are fiscally responsible for our actions. Okay. The well will dry up, but we should not be bleeding it out at today's rate. It is going to be sooner than later. So if we don't put a stop on it now, it will be too late. I think we could save it now.
Okay. Ms. Phillips, do you have anything else, Mr. Carvalho?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on as
Carvalho,
time goes on.
Mr. Carvalho, do you have anything that you missed that you want to cover?
Yes, there is one thing. Stop going out there and buying pets. There's a lot of beautiful animals in these shelters. Go out there, rescue them. I have 4 rescues. I love them. They're just the most beautiful creatures on earth. So be kind to them. Love them. That's it.
Very good.
Well, Ms. Carvalho, thank you for coming on. Ms. Phillips, thank you. But Mark is going to zoom in, and you could tell people why they should go to the voting booth next year and vote for you, or why any challengers that want to take you on should just not do that. and your point of contact if you have one. Please.
Okay. Once again, my name is Angelo Carvalho. The reason why I'm running for Board of Regents is because I'm very passionate about higher education. And anybody that's going to run against me, I'm going to ask you not to, because I'm on a mission. And when I'm on a mission, there is no stopping me. I will raise the money. I will reach out to the community. I'm very active in my community. I volunteer a lot. Everybody already knows my name. Everybody already knows my face. And the reason why you want to go out there is I'm dedicated. I served 26 years in the Army. I was forced to retire because of my injuries. Other than that, I probably would still be in. So that's my challenge. Go to the polls, do the right thing, check Angelo Carvalho for Board of Regents, District 3.
Well, thank you, Mr. Carvalho. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Folks, that's Angelo Carvalho, candidate for Nevada System of Higher Education, Board of Regents, District number 3. And we hope that this program was informative. And as you can see, Angelo is very sharp. And I just want to put this out there. Any candidates VIPI consultant takes on, we're only going to take on candidates that we feel would better our community, not because we want to fill our pocketbooks. It's to better our community. And those are the only reason why we'll take on those particular candidates. Is that right, Ms. Phillips?
Yes, and they're nonpartisan.
And they're nonpartisan. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips of Veterans in Politics. Until next time.